Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinema Flow podcast. I am your host, Zach Abdulbaki, and today I am joined by two very special guests. We have Mitch Tanaka and Ben Clark. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, it's good to be here again.
Yeah. The reason I have gathered you both here today is that we are going to be reviewing 5 very different short films that I have carefully selected for all of us to watch. For those of you listening, I've put links to all these short films in the description if you want to check them out. The one thing I'll say before we start is that I got to give a shout out to a professor that Ben and I had in film school, Mr. Paul Wolanski. He teaches a class.
Yes.
Yeah, he teaches a class called Short Film Analysis. That class was back in freshman year, and by that point I had made a few short films on my iPhone with my buddies, but I hadn't really made something on a larger scale. So a lot of the shorts that we watched in that class were very inspiring and very educational as to what was possible as a young filmmaker. So even after the class was over, I would try and find good shorts on YouTube and Vimeo because the directors that made those movies often had the same amount of resources that we do today. So if there are any young filmmakers out there listening to the show, I would encourage you to watch all of the movies that we're going to be talking about. They're all listed down there in the description. So you just click those links and you can watch all 5 movies that we're going to be talking about, and you can follow along with the show, especially since we're going to be talking spoilers as we review these 5 picks. So with that said, let's dive into the first movie. The first film is A la Kachuu, which translates to Take and Run. Here is the logline. Sazim wants to fulfill her dream of studying in the Kyrgyzstan capital of Bishkek when she is kidnapped by a group of young men and taken into the hinterland. There she is forced to marry a stranger. If she refuses the marriage, she will be threatened with social stigmatization and exclusion. Torn between her desire for freedom and the constraints of the Kyrgyz culture, Sazim desperately seeks a way out.
саламатсыздар келіңіз эмне аласыздар
Менің үстімден аттап кетсең, өмір бойы жақсылық көрмейсің.
As you can probably tell, this film was made in Kyrgyzstan and is quite a heavy watch. It was written and directed by Maria Brendle, who is a Swiss filmmaker. She heard about this practice of bridal kidnapping called a la Kachuu, which is now illegal in Kyrgyzstan, but nevertheless still happens every day. A lot of women accept their fate since they're afraid of the consequences, but Maria wanted to make a film about someone who attempts to escape this plight. So with that said, gentlemen, what did you think of a la Kachuu?
I think that for the order of films that we had, you definitely started off with the best one in my opinion. I really love this one. I think it's really interesting because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know anything about Kyrgyzstan. I couldn't point it out on a map to you. I honestly I didn't even really know anything about it as a nation. And after watching the movie, not only do I feel very strongly about this issue, it's but yeah, I definitely feel I found myself really invested in the story and the characters and whatnot.
Mitch?
Yeah, I thought it was a damn compelling one to start with. That's for sure. I think um, uh, not having I didn't dive into any of these films with any of the log lines or synopses, and I thought that added to the experience because I thought I think it lends a very American perspective in this in watching it because going in with no idea of where it was going, I expected the main tension of the issue to be just this conflict between the mother and the daughter of like, you're going to do this and I want to do that. And of course, that is part of it. And the mom ends up being a big factor of it. But um, to see it escalate way beyond what you think is already like a legitimate amount of tension to carry the whole film led to me like, oh shit, yeah, this really is like, you know, a we're diving into a really deep issue and something that's far beyond a lot of our comprehension over here.
Yeah, and it really did make you feel like trapped and everything. Like there are a lot of I feel like there was a common theme of a lot of the movies that we watched in this set of like being trapped in some way. And I feel like this was the film that pulled that off the best because like you really you really got to feel like the like hope of escape slowly die until of course the main character like gets that last little like opportunity at the end. It's like it's a very it's very compelling because like you go in wanting them to get out, and when the parents show up, you think, oh, they figure it out. They're gonna help her, but no,
Yeah.
they're going along with it, and it's just like like every moment where like something like that happens, just sort of further makes you feel like there's no way out.
Yeah, I definitely
Oh,
think that the old lady, the main old lady is like
mm,
the ghost of Christmas future. And that scene
yeah.
where they're like alone together on the hill or whatever, she's like, I understand why you're sad, but yeah, it's gonna get better. And yeah.
I
Go ahead. Yeah.
this this movie was really interesting for me to watch because both in terms of things that are just relevant generally in the news right now and just relevant I think in terms of what I've been ingesting through media, um because you realize really quickly, especially with the inclusion of those older characters, I think that the main battle for her and the main hope for you as a viewer isn't so much overcoming the physical obstacles as it is just making sure that she has the resolve to get through it and not give up. And it was really interesting because I'm finishing up a book called Man's Search for Meaning, which is by Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor. And he's talking a lot in that book about how attitude is really like the only thing in dire circumstances that no one else can control, no matter how much control they have over your life. And that was definitely reflected here. It also reminded me a lot of Silence, that Scorsese film that came out with Andrew Garfield. Just in terms of like uh, retaining something from the past you had in freedom and bringing that with you, and kind of flipping around that the title so that taking and running can also mean like taking the conviction that you have and bringing that with you. Also, like with all the protests happening in Iran and stuff, even just the very simple nature of changing her clothing when she enters the village and stuff like that was really impactful, I thought. So it was just overall a really relevant. Uh, it was not hard to find parallels, both
Yeah,
unfortunately.
no.
Yeah.
I want to ask you both, what did you think of the main actress's performance?
I thought she was excellent. I think it's a role that really required a lot of range because I mean you see her like in the beginning with her friend in the city trying to you know make her new life and sort of being like bright and excited but also nervous. Um and then you see her in like moments of like desperation and like sheer like she really goes through the five stages of grief, and I feel like the actress portrayed that like fantastically.
Yeah, same. I feel like even though it was in a different language, you could really tell uh the tonal shifts and how she was speaking, and really even like I remember just the scene where the guys initially walk into the bread shop and they're just asking about her friend. There's so much range within that one scene, I feel, and that's not even, the climax by any mean emotionally in the movie. Um, so yeah, I thought she did a fantastic job.
You know, Ben, it's interesting that you mentioned that she goes through the five stages of grief because I don't think that would have been possible if the movie were like 10 to 15 minutes long. For those who don't know, Kachuu is 38 minutes long, which is very unusual for a short film. Most shorts are like 10 to 15 minutes because that's the ideal length that festivals like. I've asked people about this and I've heard answers like, well, if I'm going to watch something longer than 15 minutes, I don't want to watch a short, I want to watch a feature. And I've been like, well, the average TV episode is like 30 to 40 minutes nowadays.
No, I agree. I think we will talk about this later, but I think that like there were a couple films in this selection that were like around that length, and I think that this film was an excellent example of like a movie that needed to be that long, and a movie that uses its length really well and did something super compelling with it. And there was one film later on that I feel was a gross misuse of a long run time, but we'll get to that later. I feel like it depends on the film you're making, essentially.
Yeah.
I would compare it a lot to like creating an album in music, where it's like like the average album length tends to be like between like 35 and 45 minutes, but there are like a wide range of different things, different album lengths, and oftentimes that like really just plays into the type of like album you're making. Like a fast-paced garage rock record from the Hives would like usually those are like under 30 minutes, and that's fitting, whereas like a genre bending like prog rock concept album from Muse tends to be like almost an hour, and that's also fitting.
Yeah, I think another thing too, and again, I think the beauty of not having many expectations when going into a short film and kind of being open to just have the story presented to you in a way that you don't with a lot of auteurs or feature films or genre. You go in expecting a certain genre, and I think the beauty of that for me was that the film grips you the whole time, but if you don't necessarily know the runtime, and I assume you wouldn't if you walked into like an AMC showing all these short films, especially for this movie, is that it really plays with that uncertainty in a way that a feature film can't necessarily, because roughly how far you are in the movie, I think, whereas like with short films and having so much variability in terms of if it's just 2 minutes long or if it's like 40 minutes long, there really is a sense of, is you going to get out of this? When are we going to hit the resolution of this? I don't necessarily know where we are in a in a 3-act story, or if we're even following that particular format. And that was really compelling for me because I purposely didn't want to see the time code while I was watching the film, just so I could kind of get immersed in it. So yeah,
That's really interesting because like
yeah,
I was watching with my girlfriend Katie, and when like the kidnapping happened, like Katie was like, I'm sorry, Ben, I've got to just like you can look away. I've got to scroll to the end to see if she makes it out okay, because you can't really tell based on the just based on the structure of it. I know you're making that a phase, Zach. But she really liked it though. It was it was her favorite of the bunch too.
You can find A La Kachuu streaming on Vimeo on demand, which means you have to pay $6.99 in order to watch it, but I think it is extremely worth it. So if you have $7 to spare, consider watching A La Kachuu. It's for a good cause. You guys ready to move on to movie number 2?
Definitely.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Okay, our second film is Kavi, which is from India. Here's the logline. Kavi, the story of a young boy who attempts to escape from the outdoor brick factory where he is forced to work as a bonded labor slave in India. Kavi must either escape what he's always been told to do or fight for a different life, even if he is unsure of the ultimate outcome.
कुछ बच्चे स्कूल जाते हैं, कुछ बच्चे काम पर जाते हैं.
The film is 19 minutes long and is available for free on YouTube if you want to watch it. The link is in the description. Unlike Kachuu, there isn't much written about Kavi online. All I know is that it was made in 2009 and it was directed by Gregg Helvey, who is an American who went to USC for grad school and wanted to shine a light on modern slavery with this film. So with that said, what did you guys think of Kavi?
Oh yeah, I thought Kavi was really fascinating, especially within the context of just having finished Alakachu before. Um, I found something that I thought was really interesting is that I think despite Alakachu being more larger in scale, um, something about Kavi made it feel a bit more like a journey, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was really shown from like a child's perspective. I thought I was really watching it through the eyes of a kid, um, especially like looking across the way and seeing the kids playing cricket and things like that. There was kind of I hesitate to say like fantastical, but that's kind of what I think of when especially when he's kind of longing to be elsewhere. Um, even the villain, so to speak, in this movie, I thought he was less developed than the ones in Alakachu in terms of antagonists, but I thought that also worked within being from this perspective of like being a child and viewing this struggle through his perspective. So it's really interesting. I think it is more straightforward than the other one, but I think that works to its advantage, especially considering that like I noticed it was used for a lot of different advocacy groups and like meetings about how to prevent modern day slavery and stuff like that. And for that, it makes sense that it would be like a little bit more universal. Yeah, but I liked it.
Yeah, I about like the thing with like, from the eyes of a child. I think any movie like this is often made or broken by the child actor, since child actors can be so hit or miss. But this kid was fantastic. I thought he had so much, like, brought so much emotion to the role. You really it was super easy to root for, and just like on like an instinctual level. I think watching this one, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Not quite as much as Alkachu, but that might also be because I was comparing it. Because they are very similar kind of films. They're both they're both kind of made to shine a light on an issue, so to speak. Both of them end with the words "thousands of people in said place
Oh yeah.
experience that thing every day." And so I think that they have, out of the five movies we watched, they have the most similar like message and like story. Um, and while I think that Alakachu was more intriguing to me, I think that this one, still did what it did phenomenally. And I think, like, I also thought it was like a fantastic, like a compelling, like example of like gaslighting, sort of like, the boss guy who's like, the antagonist of the film, who I actually enjoyed the antagonist of this film better than the ones in Nalakachu, and partially because he was just like for not being like so developed in terms of backstory. He had a lot of like, there's a lot of development, the manipulation tactics he used. Like when we first meet him, this other guy drags Kavi over to him, and then like, you think, oh no, this guy is gonna like get mad on it and whatnot. And then he's like, if you work fast enough, you can play cricket with me. But there, like, it's like, it seems like, oh, but then there's something underlying that's creepy about it. And the longer the film goes on, you do realize that like everything he says to Kavi, everything friendly he says to Kavi is basically in order to manipulate him and to make him loyal to him. And the parts where he's like snaps at him and like has the other guy hit him are like those are the moments where that character's true colors come out. And I always think that that's like really interesting to do in a villain, is like someone who who will initially act kind to your face just to manipulate you, but like in actuality is just a horrible human being who will like cause you pain and throw you under the bus.
I think for me, one of the main things, just discussing it now, that I noticed between Kachuu and Kavi again is that Kavi, you're rooting for someone who has already grown up, kind of indoctrinated within this particular kind of thinking, to change and grow out of it. Whereas in Alakachi, you're hoping for this person to stay as they are and be consistent with who they were at the start. And I just think it's very interesting because it, despite being both stories about liberating yourself, they're, I think they show that it's a very there is no one way to show that kind of story. And I agree too. I think the fact that the antagonist kind of gamifies the slavery, I guess, is initially something that you almost find as like, okay, maybe this guy isn't as bad as he seems at first, and then you realize, oh no, this is just, exactly.
Yeah, he's worse than he seems.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
Is there anything else you want to touch on with Kavi?
I think the only other thing that I can think of is at the end of the film there was like something that really interested me, which is when when the liberator people save Kavi, and all the other people have been like carted away. Kavi like asks the long-haired guy, are you really going to be able to find like my parents? And he like takes a moment and then is like, we'll do the best we can. And I thought that like that moment of uncertainty really like gave the gut punch at the end, while still having an ultimately positive ending where the kid gets out, but there's still that like, ooh, I don't know, who knows if like he'll be able to, if they'll really be able to help.
I also really liked the scene where he's looking at his farm again, with his father. Of course, the film opens with that, and he has this kind of imaginary world, and the fact that that becomes less of a reality to him over time, I think was really impactful, even more so impactful in a way than I think like the physical violence that you actually witness in the film, because it shows that, again, like you're not just, I think especially like back in film, like in high school film classes and stuff like that, when they would assign things that like, make a film that emotionally impacts you and stuff like that. I remember a lot of people, the default was like, let's make the most like fucked up, like depressing, someone's gonna kill themselves, someone's gonna, get beat up. And it's so, I think that scene is a perfect illustration of the idea that you can show as much as you want in terms of the physical, tangible suffering of someone, but when you see a part of someone being lost in their character, and this kid's idea of imagination and fantasy kind of withering away, that hit a lot more than anything to do with the the violence of it all.
All right, our next movie is going to be a bit lighter. We're talking about Rocket. This is a Chapman University grad thesis film from 2016. Here is the logline. Rocket tells a bittersweet fairy tale set in the world of 1950s dirt track racing. With a legacy traditionally passed down from father to son, Annie strives to build a destiny all her own.
Teach me to drive. I'll help you get this place back like what it used to be.
Why are you here?
Looking for a change? Challenge.
You have to know the course, where the good dirt is. That helps you decide which path to take.
How many times do I have to tell you you can't lose focus? Hey, I didn't say that you could come in here.
Hiya, folks, and welcome to the 23rd Annual Locals Only Derby.
Know the land, and you know your way. It's his thing, It's not mine.
Of course it is.
This film won the Student Academy Award and was directed by Brenna Malloy. She was a grad student at Dodge, and this was her thesis film. She has gone on to direct over 14 episodes of hour-long professional television shows, including Chicago Fire, FBI, and 911. The reason I'm familiar with this movie is that Brenna Malloy actually came to my directing class a couple of years ago and spoke to us about her experience making this movie. She said that she was discouraged by a lot of people to make a movie this long and ambitious. For those who don't know, the movie is 30 minutes long and required stunt work for all the racing sequences. But at the end of the day, the film really paid off for her, and I think you can feel the passion behind it on the screen. And just for you guys, you don't need to be positive just because like I don't know her that well, and I don't think she's gonna listen to this. I like the movie, but I want to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, well, I wasn't too fond of it personally. I will say though, on a technical level, it was very well done, and makes sense that she is has become a successful director in TV. It also makes sense. I assume she didn't write the stuff that she directs in TV, and it makes sense because I did not like the script of this movie very much. I found the dialogue to feel like it wasn't something that people would actually say. And I found it like if the the log line you said makes it seem like it would be one thing, and really and really it really felt like it was a lot more about a dejected love story, but one that felt like it was between two unreal people. And so for that reason, it didn't really land for me. I think the stunt work was well, and the cinematography was beautiful, and and it was like very well shot. It just like didn't deliver on the story. And it's funny you say that it was a Dodge film, because I feel like that was a problem with a lot of the Dodge film prod films, and this very much felt like that to me.
Mitch?
Yeah, no, let's see. I definitely enjoyed a good chunk of this. I do agree that I think a lot of the dialogue in this one didn't stick with me as much as many of the other films that we watched. But I do think also that the direction within some of the more interpersonal scenes carried some of the tension where the dialogue may have not, especially near the end. And just a lot of the interactions with the two main characters. I think there was a lot of work with staging and just simple movements and things like that, little gestures that really added a lot to the chemistry. So I bought into that just fine. Also, the production design.
I'm gonna be honest. I felt like they had about as much chemistry as an AP, English test. I get that with the blocking and stuff like that, and I thought that they did a great job establishing setting and crafting a world, but it just, I don't know, it just felt to me like watching these two characters that they maybe had some things in common, but they both felt very flat to me. It felt like there was very little substance there, and when Katie and I were watching it, we kind of filled that lack of substance by poking fun at it essentially. But I feel like oftentimes if a movie gives you the space and lack of substance to do that, then that's an issue.
For me, a lot of I think part of what felt redeeming to me about some of the writing when it came to their chemistry is the fact that it doesn't work out. And I think I think if it was like all the way, like they go the distance, everything works out, her dream is fulfilled, his dream is fulfilled, all of that, I would have a lot more critiques of it. But I think the fact that it didn't go that way made it more forgiving for me. And I do really like that twist. I also think that the production design is worth commending a ton.
Oh yeah, that was excellent.
Totally. It felt felt very American dreamy, both in like the classic sense and the more kind of postmodern take on it, where it reminded me a lot of like it felt like a Joe Johnston movie. To me, it felt kind of like when it initially started, I was like, this is like if Joe Johnston made like Ford versus Ferrari, is what I think of. And then I also thought a lot about not it doesn't really have anything to do with the plot per se, but in terms of tone and feel, it felt a lot like to me like October Sky for some reason or another. And I think a lot of that just has to do with something that I was thinking while I was watching this, because I was trying to figure out if you had a particular theme in mind when putting all these together. And the one that I had concluded was just like a sense of longing. And I think if there is one thing in the grand scheme of the theme in this film that really worked for me, it was, I guess, in looking at this film through the lens of longing, it made that ending feel a lot more satisfactory to me, in the sense that the the main guy character felt like someone who stumbled into a passion, who kind of adopted this as an escape, and we kind of see forms of escape in other parts of the other films that we've watched. I think the next film that we're going to discuss, a lot of that has to do with escapism. Um, and it was really nice to watch this movie through the lens of the main character, who really, I think, lived and breathed this passion in a way that the other character didn't. Um, and just in talking a lot about passion in film and being, really dedicating yourself to the art, it had this weird kind of meta feel to it, that I enjoyed. But yeah, I think the best aspects of this film to me were the feel, the technical aspects of it, and then also just the wider sweeping kind of thematic implications of it. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I think while I with the thematic things you were talking about, while I agree that that was definitely what they were going for,
Yeah.
I feel like for me it didn't really connect. And part of that was because well, the sense of longing connected. That was one thing that connected, and I got that in the main character quite a bit. But with a lot of the other things, like what you're talking about, like the living and breathing passion type thing, I didn't get that from either of the characters, and I still didn't get that from either of the characters by the end. Like the main girl, finally doing the race felt, it didn't feel like she was overcoming something and ready to race, and it definitely didn't feel like she was breaking any boundaries by doing it. Which was interesting because the log line seemed to make it seem like that's what it would be when everyone was just okay with it. But yeah, it just felt like she was like, well, the guy I had a crush on was married. Guess I'll go on a race now. And so I don't know, to me it just like, because of that, it felt a little aimless.
I think also watching this after these two films about some form of captivity or slavery that did feel really palpable, just within that context too, I think it was a little harder to get invested in the overall arc of this character. To me, it felt, to touch on that too, there was kind of a cynicism to it, that I felt, and I think it was intentional in the idea that, like you're mentioning, Ben, the character kind of just returns to a form that she was in before, maybe slightly changed, but that sense of longing is primarily just retained within her as opposed to like embodied. And I think that has some cool kind of complexity to itself, I think. But yeah, especially in contrast to the last two films, it felt less realized, I think.
Yeah. And also props to her for making a Dodge film that had moving vehicles in it.
Yeah, literally.
That's like but for those of you listening who don't know, that's one of the things that they usually don't allow at Chapman. So So that probably took a lot of like hassling the school to do. So good for them.
Last thing I'll touch on in this movie, the credits sequence. How dope was that?
Oh,
That was good. I was since I was watching through all of them in one sitting, I didn't stay for the whole thing, but yes, that was very well structured and I liked it.
Yeah, and I thought too, I mean, again, I thought the production design was just so well done throughout the whole film. And you could just tell at the end that they're like, why not? You know, they're like, let's throw this in. This would be a lot of fun. I could just see the production designer having a lot of fun with the director and the whole crew. So I hope that was the case because that's how it felt.
All right, you guys ready to move on to the fourth movie?
Yeah.
Great. Our next film is Une Soeur. Here is the logline. A night, a car. Allie is in danger. To get by, she must make the most important phone call of her life. Une Soeur translates to a sister. For those who don't know, this is a French language film that was made in Belgium. It was a bit hard to track down. I saw the movie in cinemas back when it came out, but the only way I could find it today was by purchasing the bundle on Amazon titled 2020 Oscar-nominated short films, live action, and selected animations. It costs $7.99, but there are some really good shorts in there, so it's well worth the price. With that said, tell me, guys, what did you think of Une Soeur?
I really liked it. That one was after I wasn't as fond of Rocket, that one definitely was like, okay, that one was like very enjoyable to watch. I think it's also like an interesting thing of like proof that you can, like, no matter what concept you have, you can make a good film. Because normally I'm not a big fan of phone call movies, and and like things that are almost entirely dialogue and essentially could be a radio play are not like things I usually like go for. However, in this case, just with the sheer like tension of it and like the fact that like you're holding your breath from start to finish and that like you really get the palpable sense of danger in every step of the way, everything that like they say in their conversation. Like the fact that that's there really makes it land.
I agree. I think the tension again was really consistently applied throughout the whole movie. It also, I think, was really refreshing after two films about someone who really had to go it alone with their circumstances, that we have a film. It was just refreshing, and again, I mean, it really ties into the title with a sister. It kind of has a double meaning in my opinion, where it's, she is a sister even though she's just someone trying to help. It was nice to see someone who's actually legitimately taking someone's concerns seriously. I also really enjoyed the lack of music in this film. It made it feel a lot more immersive as a story. And I also love that you spend a good chunk of the film, I think, really from the dispatcher's perspective. You get a sense of the circumstances, of course, and you spend a lot of time really intimately with the main character or the main girl who's in trouble. But the most well lit aspects of the film, the most expressions you get throughout the film, are all this dispatcher. And I love that it shows that it's as much of an epic as this is, and as many twists and turns as there are, it really is just one of dozens of calls that this person deals with on the day to day. And you know that in that last second of the film where she's just kind of catching her breath, that she's going to get another phone call like that. And I just appreciated the fact that it really made you, I felt a lot of gratitude just generally stepping out of that movie and just realizing how many people do that on the regular. I think it's quite easy to overlook that, just, yeah. I think there really was a lot of nuance in this film in terms of the performances. I mean, it makes sense because so much of it is said indirectly, but I was surprised just how much you could really tell that this character was wrestling with her own personal feelings toward the matter, and just the professionalism that you need to pull something off like that. And those last few seconds of the film kind of reminded me of the end of Captain Phillips for some reason or another, just in the sense that you have that final like emotional release, and the fact that even then it's super understated, just within the context of being in a a room full of other dispatchers. I thought that was a lot. I thought that was a good scene. Yeah.
Yeah, this was really compelling, and for a particular reason that you would expect. Oh, when the cops show up and like stop the car, that's when okay, you're safe. I didn't feel safe until the guy was literally like handcuffed and she was out of the
Yeah.
house saying thank you. Like it's like something could still happen. You never know, and it's like that's really just a testament to like how much that this film really just gets you like feeling everything that's going on and feeling like the tension in the air.
Yeah,
Totally.
during those like last 10 seconds, I was like, this woman needs a break. She needs she needs to go get a smoothie, get a pretzel. So that's where
Yeah.
I was.
No, honestly, that definitely go. She should just like go play some doodle jump or something online.
Yeah.
Play some doodle jump and listen to Jack Johnson.
Yes. Not Jake Johnson. That's the different one.
No,
But
Jack Johnson, the banana pancakes guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But this movie, I saw it when it was like, I think like 2018 or 2019. And I just had this moment where I was like, these people made a masterpiece with nothing. Like the fact that they made this with so few resources. I mean, if there are any aspiring filmmakers listening to this podcast, if you're gonna put the money up for one film, put it on this one, because
Yeah.
it's inspiring.
I think too, they crammed in a lot of subtext, and I feel like a lot of themes in a very short amount of time as well. If you watch this through the lens of the hostage or the dispatcher, you really get a different idea, I think, of what the themes are. Obviously, there's a lot of similarities, but I think you really walk away with different emotional highs and lows. And I also really enjoyed that, as much as it may have been a budgeting question, or something that was meant to add to the tone of the film, the fact that all the car sequences were super dark, I think really allowed the viewer to imprint whatever they felt they could empathize with onto the hostage character. Also, those little glimpses of those little flashbacks of the woman being assaulted, that you see in the film were really, I mean, those were terrifying in a way that I don't think,
Yeah.
the fact that you don't entirely know what was going on even by the end of the film really adds to it, in a sense that I think if you were to reveal the entirety of that again, it just wouldn't have that impact. Yeah.
Yeah, man, well said. And for those who don't know, it was nominated for best short film, did not win. I thought it should have won.
But the two best ones of this whole set were both ones that should have won.
Okay, you guys ready for our last film?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. This is the log line for Aya. Aya is waiting for someone at the airport. A driver asks her to hold his welcome sign for Mr. Overby. When Mr. Overby shows up, Aya decides on an impulse to drive him to his hotel in Jerusalem. During the car ride, an unexpected intimacy develops between Aya and the reserved Mr. Overby.
It's Mr. Overby, right?
Yes, it's Overby. You stressed the Y.
Overby. I'm Aya, by the way. Aya. So you are in the Wittgenstein competition?
I'm a jury member.
Mr. Overby, are you ready for a confession?
You want me to confess?
No, not you. Me. Can you play the piano on my hand? I'm not your driver.
What do you mean you're not my driver?
I was at the airport just waiting there for someone to arrive. And then you came a moment after that.
This is an Israeli film from directors Oded Binnun and Mihal Brezis. It stars Sarah Adler, who is an actress I really like. She was in the movie Foxtrot. Aya was made in 2012 and it is 40 minutes long. You can rent it on Amazon Prime Video for just $2.99. So with that said, what did you guys think of Aya?
I think this was definitely the film that I had to spend the most time kind of meditating on afterwards. I think there's a lot to dissect, and you're not quite sure, at least for me, I wasn't quite sure initially what should be dissected when I walked away from the film. I think it felt similar to even this film I felt was more explicit in its themes, but like Drive My Car was something that I thought of. Obviously, they're driving a car, so that makes sense. But I think even in terms of just when you so much of those conversations in that car ride, despite having a sort of peculiarity to them, felt somewhat ordinary in terms of just conversations you have driving with someone in a car that you don't know well. And it took me a good while to kind of get an understanding of the characters. I think it was intentional. The long running time and the amount of time that you spend in the car with them was a very intentional choice, because I walked away with from this film thinking that the theme and the main character's motivations were really, again, driven by longing, kind of hints of escapism, wanting to have some sort of relationship, get some sort of adventure out of this car ride, even if that's not really possible in the way that these people imagined. I think Aya, the driver, really has that sense of wanting something fantastical, wanting to connect with this person, wanting intimacy. And I think the passenger starts to kind of feel that way. But so much of it is unrealized, and so much of it is buried in those kind of everyday conversations they have. And I think that is very intentional, that so much of it feels kind of like an everyday conversation. I'm not sure if I'm convinced that the running time was worth it with this one, but especially after the last 4 films, and those being such high stakes, oftentimes very kind of grandiose in theme, at least, there's something really special to me about this movie, and the idea that you really have to put a looking glass to it to find the kind of the fantasy or the escapism in the story. And there's something that I like about kind of the ordinariness of parts of this. Yeah, that's my long-winded answer.
I think you put a lot more effort into liking it than I did. I'll say that much. No, when Katie and I watched it, at the end, Katie was like, I think this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And while I don't necessarily agree, like, I wouldn't necessarily go that far, I was not a fan of it. I get what you're saying about like having to put in the time to really understand it, but I also think it can be said that if a movie requires the time to understand it and doesn't make you want to put in the time to understand it, then it's okay to say, yeah, it doesn't work for you.
Do you want to know the nickname I gave this movie? And again, I like this movie, but when I was watching it, I turned to Allie and said they should have called this Lockward. Like the film with Tom Hardy.
Oh, like, I get it now.
And well, thank you for listening today. It's been
that's a good one.
Ben's just gone.
Oh, that's the
Anyway.
best joke I've heard in a while.
I'm so glad.
Holy shit!
I was watching it with my girlfriend Allie too, and she's also much less partial to this film, I think, than I was. I also think I was thinking about a conversation I had with my friend about we were arguing whether deserts are interesting or not. Um, and I think part of it for me is that like I feel like it kind of represents the discussion about this movie because it again so much of this film begs the question of how much should a viewer have to dive into the finest details of a movie to find meaning or resonance in a film before it becomes just too much or you're asking too much of the viewer. And I personally love films that just like give you nothing on the surface and just have like just demand that you dig into that shit as much as it can be hard sometimes. But I do also, especially if I'm coming back from like a work shift or something, I'm not necessarily inclined to find the nuance in a discussion about bagels or something, you know. Yeah.
I don't think Aya is a perfect movie, but there are a lot of things I love about it. There's a very unique theme in the movie that I haven't seen portrayed in any film, and that's the idea that Aya wants to be close to strangers because she doesn't feel much of a connection to her friends and family. Did any of those themes of like human impulses, loneliness, did any of that leave an impact on you?
I do agree. I think there are films that explore that to a greater degree than this one does. I think this one brings it up in a way that is intriguing and in a sense allows you to kind of again imprint your own understandings of the implications of what people are saying. And I like that about the movie. But this is also coming from someone who will like pull up one of those like ambient YouTube videos and then like watch it instead of like falling to sleep or something. So my tolerance has built up over the years for sure.
Yeah. This movie, I didn't intend this to be like a connection between the movies that I paired up. But upon rewatch, I was like, hey, the guy from Rocket is kind of like Aya. He's not satisfied with his home life and he's trying to chase something new and find something new. And I feel like he'd relate to this.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there was something really interesting about I think also the fact that Rocket as an American produced movie and Aya as a French Israeli film were different in portraying that desire for escapism. And I don't think it's super surprising that Rocket leans a lot more into kind of the explosive elements of that to some degree with, these big stunt sequences and things like that. Whereas you definitely have to infer a lot more with Aya. And I just thought that was interesting. Yeah, I feel like the guy from Aya and the guy from Rocket could definitely like share a very sad beer together if they wanted to.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask you both, why do you think she didn't come back to see him at the hotel?
I think for me, the implication of that was that she likes the idea of chasing that feeling more than actually having it. I thought it was also tied into the ending where as soon as she's embraced, the film ends. And I think that was a really purposeful point to end it at. Because it's more about what's not done and what's not said than what is, that I think is important in that movie. And I think that's also why it's really frustrating.
Fun fact, according to Ron Ganbar, who did the visual effects for Aya, this movie has 250 visual effects shots because all the driving scenes were shot in the studio.
I mean, cool.
Yeah, no, I try to find like one fun fact for each movie. So that was the one I found on this.
Yeah, that's neat.
I think there was one shot where it might have been CGI or like some sort of comp with like a wider car shot, and I was like, that doesn't seem entirely right. But it never broke my immersion either. And definitely not in a way. I remember I walked downstairs one day and my girlfriend was watching Do Revenge, which I also want to watch through in its entirety. But it was during like a rear projection driving scene, and I was like, oh man, I forgot how flat these are. Yeah.
Did she watch all the movies with you? Because if so, I'm curious to know like just briefly like which ones she liked and didn't like. Was it kind of
She
this?
only saw Une Soeur and Aya.
Mhm.
She definitely liked Une Soeur more, for sure. But I don't think she saw much in Aya. I was definitely the Aya apologist, as I suppose I have been since.
Katie was very much like that. She was like like if we're gonna spend 40 minutes with these two people talking in a car, they at least have to be likable.
I thought he was likable. What was wrong with him?
Well, I think that she didn't have as many problems with him, just that he was like kind of closed off, so we
Yeah.
didn't really. But like, but yeah, no, yeah, Katie definitely did have a lot of frustration towards Aya the character and the film.
Any other thoughts on Aya?
Did anyone think that she was gonna like murder him?
No.
No, but I thought that maybe he would think that.
Yeah, I definitely was like, I don't like. I mean, I saw
It
at the
might be
beginning,
because
like,
we just watched a movie about someone getting kidnapped and being in a car.
that's a good
If
point. Yeah.
that you know this lady effectively just passively kidnapped a guy.
Yeah.
So with the context of Une Soeur, it definitely I could see why your brain would go that way. But yeah, I was like I thought that and I was like, nope, not that kind of movie.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that the further along I went, the less that
The more confident you were that she wasn't a murderer.
that was a twist unto itself. That she just wants to
Oh,
connect with this guy.
she's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually a conscious thing. I was like, oh, two different driving movies at the end. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I
You-
dug that.
yeah. Yeah, the only thing I couldn't do was squeeze in like a really funny movie. Like I have seen a lot of short films in my life, less than Paul Wolanski, but I've still seen a lot. There are fewer funny short films than you think. Yeah. But,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Alrighty, you guys ready to give out some awards?
Let's do
Yeah.
it.
Sweet. For the record, I know this is pointless, but I feel bad that these movies only get to compete in one category at the Oscars. So I've created my own little mini Oscars so we can give these movies some awards in all the big 5 categories. So with that said, let's start the fun-sized Oscars with my favorite category, Best Screenplay. The nominees are Maria Brendle for Kachuu, Gregg Helvey for Kavi, Ian Hawke and Brenna Malloy for Rocket, Delphine Girard for Une Soeur, and Mihal Brezis, Oded Binnun, and Tom Cheval for Aya. Who are you guys voting for?
I all the names just went out of my head, but Kachuu.
Mitch?
Yeah. Same here. Same here. Also, I realized you said Une Soeur wrong, so that's fun. But yeah.
I've been saying it wrong. I thought it's Une Soeur.
No. I have.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the French will forgive you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I am disagreeing with you guys. I'm voting for Une Soeur.
I mean, and that would be my second choice, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It was tough between the two of them. I think Kachuu had more. I feel like Une Soeur was really compelling at a thing that I had seen done before and did it better than a lot of people. Kachuu felt like something I hadn't really seen before. So that was what interested me with it.
Definitely fair enough. On the best 2 out of 3 rule, Kachuu wins. Our next category is Best Actress. The nominees are Alina Turdumamatova as Sezim in Kachuu, Lizzie Clark as Annie in Rocket, Veer Batan as the dispatcher in Une Soeur, and Sarah Adler as Aya. Who are you guys voting for?
I'm going for the woman who was in Kachuu.
Yeah, I think same. I think it's tough between that, the dispatcher, and honestly, I thought gave a really good performance as well.
Yeah, I'll give her that. It was very well played.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with Kachuu as well.
I'm going with Elena for Kachuu. I thought she was really great. Honestly, I would have been fine with Aya or the Dispatcher. So this
Yeah.
is a really strong category. Our next category is Best Actor. The nominees are Nurbek Esengazi Ulu, who plays Derbek, the forced husband in Kachuu. We have Sagar Salunke as Kavi, the kid, Cameron Diskin as the dude from Rocket, and Ulrich Thompson as Mr. Overby, the passenger in Aya. Who are you guys voting for?
I'm going for the kid who played Kavi.
Yeah, I think same. I think I'm gonna go for Sagar.
I am going for Sagar as well. Wow, these are 2 unanimous in a row.
Nice.
Our
He was
next
just so good. He
Hmm.
had such a good range, and they really asked a lot of him. I felt you could feel rewarded and punished. So
Yeah, I agree. Our next category is Best Director. Here are the nominees: Maria Brendle, Kachuu, Gregg Helvey for Kavi, Brenna Malloy for Rocket, Delphine Girard for Une Soeur, and Oded Binnun and Tom Cheval for Aya.
I'm going with Une Soeur.
I'm stuck between Alakachu and Une Soeur. I might have to give it to Alakachu. I think both were really succinctly done and utilized a lot of things to the best of their ability. But I think Alakachu managed to do that with more moving parts, and I think that's just slightly more impressive.
Yeah, this one's honestly not that tough for me. It's 100% Maria Brendle for Kachuu, just because, look, let me see what Delphine Girard did a 10 out of 10 job with Une Soeur, but half of it was in the backseat of a car, half of it was in an office. I'm sorry, actors were directed perfectly, but it is not apples to apples. This is apples to oranges. Kachuu is so vast. It is vaster than some features.
I mean, it was very fantastic directing. I would agree that I think they're both very well done. I think I really liked the way that that Une Soeur played with like tension, and that's why it pushed it over for me. But I do agree with that. I think that I'm totally happy with that one also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, unrelated to that, but every time you say what's the guy's name, Gregg Helvey, I always think Greg Heffley from Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Oh, I just realized that. Yeah. Played by a Chapman student.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We've got Greg Heffley and Moana.
Yeah, we do. Actually, I don't think she goes to the school. I think she goes.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, I think she
we just knew her.
Yeah. All right. Our last category is Best Short Film. The nominees are Kachuu, Kavi, Rocket, Une Soeur, and Aya. Who are you voting for?
Kachuu.
I'm gonna have to go with Aya. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna go with Alakachu. But I liked Aya.
I liked all these movies. I am going Kachuu all the way. I knew this would happen. It is a masterpiece. If you listeners are gonna pay for one movie, pay for Kachuu. It is well worth it. You have no excuses not to watch Kavi. It's on YouTube for free. But Kachuu, we're really pushing that one because there's nowhere else you can watch it other than Vimeo for $6.99. I don't think you should pirate it, but if you're really stubborn, take a look. I doubt it's there, but if it is, go look around.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that does it for today. I really enjoyed talking to you both about these movies. I never really had a chance to share these movies with anyone until today, so I'm so psyched that I got to do this. Of course, thank you to everyone for listening. Please be sure to subscribe to the show if you enjoyed it and leave us a review. We'll be back next week with more fun chats. But until then,
Wolanski!